Medical professionals of Reddit, what's the funniest thing a patient has said under anesthesia? This woman undergoing C-section under spinal anesthesia plus ketamine said, "Show my baby first to my brother-in-law, he deserves to see her first. I sometimes wonder what happened to her marriage after that." My dad, Italian, was waking up from anesthesia and kept looking at his Asian nurse and saying he was so glad his daughter was with him. And that he loved his daughter. The nurses were confused, so they went out into the waiting to check for his daughter. I was the only one in the waiting area, and when they saw me and started hysterically laughing. I am Korean by birth, but what adopted by my lovely Italian family smiley face. I'm preparing to salsa dance. Stand back everybody. There's nothing you can do to stop me. Somebody stop me. Narrator, nobody stopped her. I was the patient. After coming out of surgery for a hernia at the age of about 15 to 16, my father helped me to the bathroom in the hospital. I was pretty messed up still and said, "Boy Dad, I was just so worried I was going to get an erection during the procedure." He laughed and made a slicing motion with his hand, implying the doctor would have cut my dick off, and I burst into tears and threw up on myself. I bet he promptly regretted that joke. Not anesthesia but delirium. Introduced the oncoming nurse to the patient. The patient gestured grandly around the room and said, "Nurse's name, meet all my friends," to an empty room. That could have been a joke about their lack of friends. Freaking mood. I just had a bowel resection and was hopped up on morphine. My divorced parents hadn't sat in a room that long together in forever. My sister, uncomfortably quiet between them, tells me my junk is hanging out of my hospital gown, and I say, "If my balls are hanging out, that makes this a ball gown." Really helped with the tension. The most memorable funny one was a guy who sat bolt upright, mime rolling a cigarette and tuck it behind his ear, saving it for Ron, when I asked what he was doing. Anesthesia can be a wild trip. The kids will always scream when they wake up. I woke up from my hysterectomy screaming in pain and begging them to make it stop. The nurse was freaked out. She was desperately trying to get meds into my IV as fast as she could. Only for me to have a hives response all over my face. I must be a kid at heart. I had double jaw surgery to correct my underbite. I took sign language in college. They typically don't wire your jaw shut anymore, they just use strong rubber bands, but you can still talk. I knew I'd be able to talk. Yet when I woke up from the surgery, apparently I kept trying to sign. The nurses were like, "We don't know sign language, honey." Based on how little I remember from college, I'm certain it wasn't even good sign language. Young girl after a root canal said, "Where are my dentures?" Damn, how long was she under? Not more than 30 minutes, but she took a bit to recover. Long enough to need dentures. Was recovering a patient after surgery who got ketamine, which has a known side effect of making you super emotional. When she woke up she started catcalling me, telling me how attractive I was. Then she got worked up because she was thirsty, so I told her I could get her ice chips. As I am getting her ice chips she starts to go, "I hate to see you leave but I love to see you go." As I disappear to get her some ice chips she starts crying real tears that she scared me off and how sorry she was. Way to go, heartbreaker. Yelling for his brother, then whispering loudly to him, "Check to see if I still have my dick." I think they took my dick, then proceeded to flash the whole room. Better safe than sorry. Exactly. If the dick thief is still around you might still have a chance. I'm a consultant anesthetist in the UK, and there are loads. Often declarations of love from the patient as the drugs are kicking in. My all-time favorite is a 40-something guy a few years ago. He needed a testicle removing for cancer. He'd never had an anesthetic before and was super nervous, to the point of barely saying anything to anyone. As the drugs started to kick in, we realized someone was quietly singing. It was the patient. Hitler has only got one ball. Had a patient come into recovery after surgery. She farted so long and loud the entire 20-bed unit heard her. Then she said, "I was trying to clear my throat, excuse me. And I want a vanilla latte, I got a headache." As medical professionals, we had to hold in the laughter, but that didn't stop patients from turning into hyenas. Haha, okay, I don't know how you guys didn't laugh. We are professionals. We are good at what we do. Including saving our laughter for later during our lunch break. Not a medical professional, but my mom was coming out from under anesthesia after a procedure a few years ago and I was trying to help her. She puckered her lips, so I picked up her water cup and asked if she wanted some. She turned her face toward me and said, "Do I look like an airplane?" The nurses and I completely lost it. I still tease her about it sometimes. I woke up from anesthesia after surgery. Not the ward bit, but the room after the surgery room where the nurses monitor you before they take you back to your ward. Anyways, as I was waking up, I swear I heard the nurse mention karaoke, but I could have just imagined that. Then I said, I wish I went karaoke. And started singing that Elvis Presley song, Wise Men Say, Only Fools Rush In But I Can't Help Falling in Love, very loudly. Then I just immediately blacked out. Anyways, I next remember just waking up in the recovery ward. In hindsight, I used to think those dentist videos were exaggerated where the kids are high. Absolutely not. At the time it seems perfectly logical to belt out hits from the 60s. Not a doctor, but I was told by my dentist that when he was prepping me to remove my wisdom teeth, I asked him why he became a dentist. I vaguely remember him telling me a story about how when he was a preteen he was at a local pool, running around when he slipped and smashed his chin on concrete and shattered some of his teeth. He was amazed at how well they reconstructed his teeth that he decided to go into dentistry. Apparently, I then looked this man in the eyes and said, well, that's a stupid freaking reason to become a dentist. Sorry, Dr. J. Surely he took great pleasure in ripping out your wisdom teeth after that. 18-year-old girl recognized the male anesthesiologist from Tinder last week and accused him multiple times of not showing up to their agreed date, while randomly falling half asleep in between. As we put her back in bed, she mumbled that she is not even mad, just generally disappointed in men and that she still thinks he's pretty. Literally one of my worst nightmares. Not medic but patient. I had appendix surgery after a preventive 2-day fasting, water was okay, and anesthesia hit me pretty hard. When I was told I had to use one of those plastic urinals or whatever because they said the abdominal effort could make me faint, I just said, I ain't gonna poop on a plastic tupper. If I pass out in the toilet like a hero, then let it be. That's the spirit. You legend, you. Obligatory, not a doctor, but I was the patient. I had to get my wisdom teeth removed at the hospital because they were, for lack of a better term, fucked. When I woke up, the nurse was going through the routine to make sure I was not brain dead. She asks me my name by saying, "Who are you?" I respond with, "I'm a lesbian." My parents were in the room. They didn't know at the time. That was how I came out. Damn, you really came out of anesthesia swinging. Swinging the other way. I always start to compliment everyone I see after waking up from anesthesia. It's super important to me to compliment them, it seems. You nurses are doing such a good job. I hope you know that. Such a great job. Wow, you're all so beautiful. Why is everyone so beautiful? Thank you for taking care of me. That's really nice of you. I love your eyes, they look kind and pretty. I am not fully there yet, but I still always react the same. I am scared and worried that they don't know how great they are. I have no filter when I wake up. Normally I am too shy to say everything I think about others. And a few minutes later I start to throw up. Every single time. In the early days of my surgical training, there was a day that I was assigned to a colonoscopy list. Standard practice is to pre-medicate patients in the anesthetic bay if required, particularly if they are a bit anxious about the procedure. I was clerking one of the patients in the anesthetic bay, going through consent and the usual pre-op routine when I noticed that she was giving me these weird sidelong glances and that her eyes would dart away every time I tried to make eye contact with her. She was also extremely fidgety and was stammering a lot in her responses to my questions. I kind of shrugged it off as preoperative nervousness and let the anesthetist do his business. Fast forward 10 minutes and I'm standing behind her. She, curled up into the fetal position with her ass hanging out and I, colonoscope in hand. As the propofol starts rushing through her veins, she turns right around, grips my forearm and stares up at me with a dreamy look on her face and goes, "You know what, Doc? I bet you kill it with the ladies." A moment later she was asleep and I was checking her colon for polyps. Dislocated my shoulder in a way that my arm ended up stuck up over my head. Apparently, while all hopped up on Demerol I was laughing hysterically while the doctor was standing on the table gurney wrestling with my arm to get it back into the socket. I don't remember a thing. A girl I worked with told the story of how she got grounded from age 15 to 18 because of anesthesia. She was having a colonoscopy, and as she was a minor her mother was in the room with her. After she was sedated, and as the technician started to insert the scope, she mumbled, "No, not again, boyfriend's name, it hurt last time." Her mother was not amused. That I look like a guy who worked for Bon Jovi. I was the patient, but right before Christmas a couple of years ago I had my gallbladder removed. In the recovery room as I was waking up I became obsessed with singing the 12 Days of Christmas song. I kept asking the nurses what order the verses were in. As they were wheeling me out of the room I heard a nurse belt out, 5 golden rings. Which was followed by everyone's laughter. I gave a kid methoxyflurane after he broke his arm. When we got to the hospital he went into the pediatric section of the ED and there were stickers on the wall of Sesame Street characters. He started talking about this unicorn on the wall, there wasn't one, and how it was trying to be friends with Elmo but Elmo didn't want to be friends with him. His mum and I had a chuckle and I had to pry the whistle out of his hands. Wife got an epidural right before childbirth and said some funny things. Once the baby's head was in the birth canal the nurses asked if she wanted to touch her baby, and she said that nobody is allowed to have sex with her daughter. This reminds me of when I gave birth. The midwife said, if you reach down now you'll be able to feel the baby. I looked her dead in the eye and said, funnily enough I can feel her. My husband burst out laughing. Apparently the midwife's face was a picture but I was too busy pushing out a human to notice. He still giggles about it and our daughter's 5 now. Hey everyone, this is Scott from /world. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video please leave a thumbs up, subscribe, comment, and don't forget to hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload.